I'm going to read this again. The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16, it reads, "And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." So this is going to be an order. This is going to be an ordinance. Matter of fact, I know I mentioned it earlier in the spirit. Let me just grab it in Daniel, the 3rd chapter, because at the scripture say what was the things that were written aforetime run for our learning. So this is Babylon the Great, America. And it actually upholds the very customs, certain scenarios and ideas from these previous kingdoms. And even the judgment of these previous kingdoms is going to befall America. Scripture talk about how the Lord's going to play Egypt again. Sodom was just an example. Show you that it was going to play out again on a greater scale. That's why you got America. So this is Daniel 3 in 3. It says, "Then the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces would gather together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up." And you can see that today, even though these other nations, they might have certain differences, one thing they all agree on is a digital system. You have, America and Russia, they on two different sides, and they're allies. Yet they all have some form of CBDC, some central digital currency, man. That's part of the New World Order. It says, "Then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down, worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up." So that's going to be the once again that time. And you bowing down is you actually going and taking that chip. This is that cause of all. And like I said, the herald said it is commanded. So you might have it might be on CNN and ABC, these different news stations and radio, to give you the info on, this is the new thing. By this date, everyone should have this mark. You go down to your local to get it. That's going to be the thing, man. And then it's going to lead to or else. That's why I continue on. It says, "And whoso falleth not down and worship the same hour shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." And that was an example with that with the crown. You not having that, you pretty much etched out. The heat was on you. You didn't follow those certain requirements, and especially that jab. It was ultimately like I said, certain establishments it was mandatory, but with this is gonna be for you to continue within this system. That's gonna be that thing, man. So let's go back to Revelation 13 and 17. It said, "And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." So without that, you ain't gonna be able to continue in this system. But just going back to the point is that this is an indicator that this is his end. This is like that sign that once this happens, then the destruction it's like a countdown, man. St. Matthew 24:29 said, immediately after the tribulation of those days. And what that's concerning the hour of temptation, that time of trouble, man. It's going to be a period of time where this chip is going to be mandatory. And then eventually, it's immediately after. So this show you that this devil ain't going, that time period of him having that system set up, that's not going to be a perpetual thing. It's going to be a short stint. I said, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And that's concerning the height of World War III. That's gonna cap off this system. But before that chip is going to be mandated, and that's why we're seeing, everything digital. Everything is becoming digital. Even the Apostle Ronald made a statement. Even what is true now is, even CDs are now becoming ancient. So to show you where we get in this process, this is Edom's end, man. And that chip is one of the last stop before this man is destroyed. So yeah, I can my hold this edifying. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rechah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone. Shalom to the elect, and teach word in all true faith and sincerity. Shalom.